Say howdy, America.
Howdy.
Mom, say howdy.
What?
Say howdy, America.
Howdy. Yeah?
Welcome back to the channel again. Thank you so much to the reaction for the first video. It was amazing. I had so many texts, phone calls, heaps of messages from people saying well done, and honestly that made me feel physically sick uploading that, so thank you so much for the reaction on it. I wasn't expecting that, so again thank you. So second video, we are doing brows just now. It's a really bitty one. There's product knowledge, there's different products, there is brow tutorial, there's everything in this video. As I said, recently just come back from America and hit the Anastasia Beverly Hills counter like nothing on earth, so it's all to do with Anastasia Beverly Hills products. Obviously there are so many alternatives out there, but I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills stuff because I went a bit crazy and not much point in not using it to show you all. So I'm going to have 3 different videos, one of using powder, one of using a pencil, and one of using the pomade. The pomade video is actually how I do my brows on a daily basis, so that one's a little bit longer, has a different product in it because obviously I redden my brows a little bit more as well. It's also got a little grooming tips on there as well, so there's plucking, cutting, there is scissors involved, so please be careful if you're going to follow it. But enjoy this one. As you can see, I bought lots of Anastasia Beverly Hills makeup, and this is a case of it was all so beautiful I couldn't really decide what to put on my face. Today we've got a few different things on. I've got the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick in Vamp, which is just to die for. I'm absolutely loving it. Totally proof, just a fab lip product. I've got on the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow in Vamp collection. I think I'm getting a little bit of a vampy theme here, but we've got the eyeshadow in Vamp by Charlotte Tilbury 2, Anastasia pomade on the brows, Anastasia contour kit. Yeah, I bought lots, so I went a bit mad and tried to fit it all in one face at one time. So please forgive the dramatic makeup, but you know, life of a makeup artist and all. Yeah, enjoy the video. Subscribe, like, do all those wonderful things you did before, and I'll see you again next time. Bye! So first off, we're gonna chat a little bit about the Anastasia Beverly Hills powder. So this comes in a duo, a lighter and darker shade, which is really good to stop you from getting that sort of flat brow. It gives you a lighter colour, a darker colour. So the lighter colour I would tend to use in the front of the brow, and in the darker colour in the tail end of the brow. And as I said, it just gives you a better shape, 3D shape, rather than being flat and looking really harsh. And that's what's good about the powders, is that you can get a really soft effect from the powders. I love using them on favourite people that have really soft brows, that don't have really thick hair in their brows, and it just softens in with the rest of the brows rather than looking really drawn on and harsh. Obviously there's so many alternatives out there. As I said, I can use a lot of Mark, that would be MAC and Bark, Saddle and Wedge, especially when I'm doing brows. And after doing this, I really have found the love for using powder in the brows again, because I'm a pomade girl, but it is a lot harsher. So if you prefer something softer or are a bit unsure about drawing in brows, I would go with a nice powder. Yeah, watch the video and here's how I would use powder. we've got the Brow Wiz. The Brow Wiz is one of my favourite pencils. However, I do know Clinique, MAC, they've all got alternatives, but I find this one the softest, the easiest to use. The reason I really like the Brow Wiz is, along with the same reasons that the Clinique and MAC ones are really good, is it's a very, very fine crayon. Really, really small. I mean, you're not even going to be able to see that on camera, but it's absolutely tiny, which means that, let's see if I can give you a better idea like that, which means that when you're drawing in your brows, you don't get this thick crayon effect. Again, really good for someone that's got a softer brow. What I tend to use these for is when people have literally no brows. It gives you a better effect on drawing in a shape, and I know that sounds really harsh when I say drawing in a shape, but with a powder they tend to be really sparse and it'll go everywhere. So using a pencil, you can be a lot more precise. If you have a really fair brow, you can be a lot more precise with your shape, and then use a shadow, then use a shadow that can soften the pencil rather than using a straightaway shadow and not getting much from it and having to work too hard at it. The good thing about these ones as well is that they come with a little spoolie as well. So you can groom your brows, you can shape them, place them in place, or if you get a little bit too much product, it's always good to have one of these just to soften the colour out. So yeah, again, watch the next video and see how I use the Brow Wiz. So last but certainly not least, I'm going to speak a little bit about the pomades. So the pomades are a bit more like a gel formula, a cream really. And I've got a couple of colours because I just find them fab. So I've got Auburn, Blonde and Chocolate. They are a fab product for getting a really definite shape, a really defined shape. In saying that, approach with caution if you aren't comfortable or aren't confident in applying your brows, because they do take a little bit more work. They're great blended out. I mean, they do blend really easily, but they are more obvious. It gives you a more obvious brow. For someone like myself who likes to draw in a strong brow, that's fab. They're completely waterproof, so I lose them. I use them on a lot of weddings, so you know, waterproof, rainy days, being hot, they're great for staying put. But yeah, like I said, I would always approach with caution. I use a 208 brush. A lot of people asked what brush I used last time. A MAC 208. It's an angled brush and smaller than the 266 brush, which I think is the one they recommend for brows. Personally, I just like having a smaller brush so I can be a bit more precise and draw big rather than start big and try and draw small. So that's why I use to apply them. And then I always set them in place. This time not with the Anastasia Beverly Hills product, but with the Sleek Brow Gel, which I find fab. £3. It's a great product for setting the brows in, and I find mine don't move after I've used that. So yeah, have a look at the pomade video, and then that's how I do my brows every day. So I've used a little bit of a red blusher just to redden up the brows because I do have the red hair thing going on. But yeah, have a little watch of this video and see how I use the pomades.
So for this video, I actually let my brows grow in a little bit so I could do all this sort of grooming. You don't know how much this pained me over the last couple of weeks, but I just wanted to show you how I sort of tweeze and get my brows in shape, and how I sort of prep them before I draw them in. So I'm just going to tweeze off any stray hairs. I like to tweeze quite a lot of the tail out, just so that I can get that finer point and, you know, girl sense, take most of my eyebrows out to draw them back in. So I'm just using tweezers to pluck the middle of my unibrow and the edge of my tail and get rid of any stray hairs that cause my shape to not be accurate. Okay, so next up I'm using the other end of the brow wiz to sort of brush my brow hairs upwards and create that sort of shape so I can see what brow hairs have started to grow in and which ones have started to get quite long. Next up, I'm going to use a pair of scissors to trim my brows. Please, 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 if you're going to do this at home, be careful. It took me a lot of practice to get the knack of this, but really all I'm using is the edge of the scissors to cut along the edge of my brow and just trim any out of shape hairs. Again, like I said, please approach this with caution. Do not blame me if you have chunks of brow hair missing. It took me a while to get to grips with this, so be careful. So now that I've gone and trimmed and prepped my brows, I'm going to start filling them in. I'm going to use the Anastasia, obviously, Beverly Hills Pomade in Auburn. That's a really warm colour to match the red that's in my hair. I usually use a 208 MAC brush. Like I said, I prefer a smaller brush, and I'll always start in the middle of my brows on the bottom edge. The bottom edge is always the one you can be a bit more sharper on. It stops the other areas of your brows looking too drawn in. And I mean, obviously my brows are drawn in, I like a stronger brow, but starting on the bottom means you can work your way up and just slowly use small motions to build your arch, to build the tail, and create your brow shape. Always start in the middle though. If you start at the front, oh, brush drop. If you start at the front, that's what gives you that sort of drawn in, I won't say scouse brow, but that drawn in, blocked out brow, angry brow I like to call it. Just using small motions with the brush and building up the shape. Right, here, I'm not being a freak, I promise. I'm actually using the brush to measure my brows. So your brows should never come any further past the start of your eye, so your tear duct reaching your nose, and the end of your brow should never go any further than using the brush against your nose and out the corner of your eye. So as you can see, when I laid the brush across my nose to the corner of my eye, I had a little bit longer to go with the tail, so that's why I'm just using a little bit more product and taking that little bit further. Right, this bit is something I particularly like to do. I use a little bit of a reddy warm blusher through my brows, as I do have a lot of warmth. I know sometimes in camera it doesn't pick up, but I really do have a lot of red, ginger tones, coppery tones if you like, through my hair. So I do like to use a little bit of a warmer blusher just because my brow OCD kicks in and I like my brows to match the colour tone of my hair. And I do use this predominantly through the front of my brow. Again, like I said, it's always better to have the tail end of your brow darker so you get that more real 3D shape from it, as you tend to have chunkier hairs through your brow naturally at the tail end. So I just like to use this to warm up the front of it and stop them from looking so flat. When I speak about colour tone, you know, matching your brows to your hair, it is important that your brows will match. So I always go for a warmer colour, but I would recommend for blondes to go for something a little bit warmer or a shade darker, so that way fairer brows have a bit more of a shape and a bit more presence. And if you're darker, vice versa, go for a shade lighter so that you don't have such a harsh brow against such a natural hair colour. Because I do use smaller motions, little brush strokes to build up the bigger brow picture, I might have one or two out of the line edges. So I do like to use a little bit of the MAC Prep and Prime in Light Boost Concealer Pen. I always highlight my brow anyway, and I like to do it with a matte effect because I do have a bigger brow bone compared to lid. So this just highlights and sort of sculpts the brow if I've got any out of the line places, so that I can be a bit more free when I'm drawing my brows and know I can tidy it up after. But always make sure you blend this part. I don't want to see any white lines around your eyebrows. Now, apologies for this. This was take 2 on my brows, but obviously I can only do 2 brows. Once the hairs are gone, I can't really go back and do another take. My cameraman skills weren't just working that day, so I'm just going to set these bad boys in place with the sleek brow gel as I used last time. This stuff's great for £3, you can't go wrong. It's a clear gel, so anyone can use it. And that's it. That's the brows. These are the wacky faces. And I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for watching.